Welcome into the Better Advertising with Better Media podcast. My name is Justin Nuckols, and I'm your host here. This is a podcast for us to chat all things retail media and advertising on the e-commerce world, talking with brand founders to us advertisers working in the accounts, deploying these strategies, and everyone in between, bringing you guys the best advice and strategies for growing your brand today. So I'm bringing back a former guest of the show, Nick Amos, a close friend and actually someone I work really closely with on a lot of accounts here at Better Media. So welcome back, Nick.
I appreciate it, Justin. Glad to be back, man.
I know we are very much looking forward to the second half of this year. And, with you having a lot more experience under your belt now, you have a lot of ideas going into Q4. So we wanted to bring some of that to our audience today to share and, share the wealth. But before we do that, I wanted to, let our first time listeners who maybe missed your first episode know a little bit about your background and who you are in your experience.
Yeah, for sure. So as Justin said, my name is Nick, advertising specialist here at Better Media. Just hit my 1-year anniversary a few weeks back. So like you said, really a lot has changed over the past year in terms of how I'm thinking about Q4 now in terms of planning and things like that. But we'll get into that a little bit more. But originally from Northeast Ohio, now living in Stillwater, Oklahoma with my girlfriend and a handful of pets that we have here. But yeah.
Yeah, and Nick has definitely excelled as one of the top BTR Media class members. So pleasure to work alongside you on a lot of accounts. You've picked all this up really quickly and you bring ideas to the table that I'm quite impressed with all the time. So it's awesome to work with you. And I think you're going to have a lot to share with the audience today in terms of what to expect for Q4 and how to really maximize your efforts going into Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the holidays, and all that. So let's get into it, Nick. I'm just going to ask you a very loose question and let you take that any direction you want. So if someone was asking, how do I maximize my sales this Q4? How do I stand out? What is your one biggest piece of advice or recommendation to brands and sellers heading into Q4 and maximizing their efforts?
Like you said, it's a very broad and hard question to answer specific. There's no one size fits all answer, of course, for any brand and their catalog that they have. There's a lot of different things leading into the event itself, leading into Q4. There's a lot of different things that I'm personally thinking about as an advertiser with our brands. Obviously, on the brand side, thinking about inventory management, how is that looking as we need to tackle events such as Fall Prime Day? Then there's T5 or T10, whatever they want to call that now, and then all the way through Christmas, basically. How is our inventory looking? Beyond that, on the ad side, how do we want to allocate ad dollars, whether it's amongst product categories, right? Do we have our hero ASINs, want to invest hard in those and then segment our ad dollars to the rest of the catalog? And then by ad strategy, I think there's a lot of different ways that here at Better Media, we like to break out our ad strategies. How do we want to focus that? Do we want to push top of search visibility? Do we want to invest in video ads? And then, of course, making sure that we're supplementing our aggressive strategies with cheaper, say, longer tail, lower CPC keywords like that. So there's a lot of different things to look into for sure. But planning now, we're late August, Q4 talk is already getting heated up for sure. There's a lot of different things that we're looking forward to. But right now, starting to look back at last year's data and use that to our advantage, right?
Yeah, I think just me asking that one question, you answered it perfectly by answering or asking a bunch of other questions. So those are the questions brands should be asking themselves. Is my best seller positioned to make a run this Q4, right? Do you have enough inventory, to your point? Or are you running deals on this product? Are people going to be compelled to click into your product in the search result? Are they going to convert on your product when all your competitors are running lightning deals around these tentpole events? So these are the questions to ask yourself and to consider, because this all informs the ad strategy, which you were talking about there at the end. The content we're going to run behind it. Do you have videos for these products and these deals that we can showcase, the discount? Or are we selling with just sponsored products? So these are all questions to ask yourself and kind of assess what you have in hand and are ready to do in Q4 to maximize your sales. Is that fair to say, Nick?
100%. I mean, like I said, there's definitely no one size fits all strategy, but of course, inventory, we don't want to run out of stock on our hero ASIN and lose any momentum that we may have leading into it right now, and really just using historical data to the best of your ability and really making use of that.
Absolutely. I know it sounds like such a basic thought process for brands, but I think a lot of brands would be surprised how often this gets missed, or, you're middle of Q4 and you're on a run and that ASIN drops out of stock unexpectedly. So, just double, triple, quadruple check that you're set up for a successful Q4.
That's right.
But looking beyond that, Nick, if we're checking all those boxes, well positioned with inventory, we have our deal set for Black Friday and Cyber Monday and beyond. How do you stand out beyond that? How do you differentiate yourself amongst the competitors in your aisle?
Yeah, again, a pretty broad question, but doing everything we can now in terms of content and listing optimization is huge, right? Doing everything we can right now. If there's any A/B testing that we want to be done, whether it's on a hero image, on the content of our listing, let's start doing this now if we haven't already. And let's figure out what's going to be the most optimal for Q4. We really want especially our hero ASINs, right? Our on deal products to be as optimized as possible. Because as advertisers, we're going to drive the click and the visibility for these products. But when it comes down to conversion, it's going to be on the listing, right? So making sure that listing is retail ready, but extremely ready for the customer to convert. And I think there's a lot that can go into listing optimization as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we could do a whole podcast episode on just SEO and listing optimizations. But that being said, to the theme of content, that should definitely be a point of emphasis on your storefront, making sure that that's suited up well as we're driving traffic into that storefront where it's a very safe space. You get to show off your brand story and really sell your product beyond what you can do on a detail page. That should be buttoned up, as well as your other content for sponsor brand video, sponsor display video, and beyond. So yes, first things first, check and take care of your PDP. But beyond that, see where else your content is living and make sure it's, uniform across, different placements, and make sure it looks the best ready to go for the deal season.
Yeah. And I think a little bit more on that in terms of using historical data and even trending data, whether you want to look at the Product Opportunity Explorer or the Search Career Performance Report within Seller Central, identifying the key category terms that you want to win on. Like, what is our 5 to 20, say 20 keywords that we absolutely want to win on? And let's look at these search terms or keywords. Let's make sure that they are, of course, in our title, our bullet. And then beyond the listing itself, like you were hinting at already, sponsor brand video ads. Okay, now we have the option to include ad copy or the headline there. Let's make sure that the product title, our sponsor brand headline, and the targets within are all as aligned as possible. Really, again, trying to streamline that customer journey and really hit it home.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. And then to the point of also creatives, I know you mentioned, test things now. Like, let's not spend top dollar in Q4 when those CPCs are at their highest to figure out which creative is our best. Let's start that testing now and get that data way ahead of time, right?
100%, man.
And then looking ahead also to Q4, besides the content you're putting out, besides the deals we're running in inventory, any other thematic trends you'd say to take focus on now going into Q4?
Again, a pretty open question. I think there's a lot to be said about the tools that are available, the data that's available in terms of market trends, I suppose, in terms of how categories or certain product niches will perform. Like, we can look at trends or search volume trends, say from this time last year leading up through Q4. How does that look like? And then making sure that, yes, we are differentiating ourselves, whether it's the listing content, our brand content, our advertising relevancy, things like that.
Yeah, we're asking the hard-hitting questions here, Nick. We're not giving you anything specific. It's just open, broad questions that these brands are asking. So you're doing well. Let's ask you one more, which is a lot of brands are bringing new products to the market, right? There's no data to go off of from prior years. There's maybe not a lot of content built out for this listing already. How would you go, or how are you going about launching new products around this time of year in Q4?
Yeah. I think this kind of goes back to there's tools we can use to look into the categories and within these new products are going into. Of course, we could look at specific product categories, identify the top search terms, do our keyword research there. But again, it's a brand new product headed into Q4. If a brand says, hey, this is going to be our new hero ASIN, this is going to be our new $1 million product, it's the willingness to put ad spend dollars behind these new products to really test. Of course, we're not going to know. It's a brand new product. We don't know which keywords we're going to convert best on. But if we have content and are able to test all the different ad types and targeting strategies, I think that is huge in the willingness to test and invest leading into Q4.
That was a very clever segue into DSP. I mean, this is a great time of year for brands to try it out if they're at all interested in trying DSP, just due to obviously the volume of searches in your aisle, but also, the customer intent is so high to purchase at this time of year that if DSP is going to work for you at any time of year, I'd probably bet money on it that it's going to be in Q4. So remarketing, like you said, to people that have already bought from your brand, shown brand affinity before. You obviously can't remarket to those that have viewed your product, as it takes a while to build up an audience for those new products. But at the very least, you can hit it day one on product launch with, like you said, remarketing to your brand purchasers, subscribers, your brand store visitors, people that have already shown a strong affinity to your name. Well, any other thoughts here as we wrap up this conversation on Q4 and looking ahead for the best tips and tricks as people are starting to plan out their Q4s?
No, I think that's really the name of the game. Obviously, us as advertisers, we're already thinking a lot. It's exciting. We like to say that tentpole events are kind of like our Super Bowl, right? And we have quite a few Super Bowls lined up here in the coming months. So super excited. Just continue planning. Again, really do some deep dive. Your most categories are the niches that you really want to focus and prioritize on. And then make sure your inventory's ready, get them deals lined up, and hit it hard.
I think you put a bow on it perfectly, Nick. Thank you so much for being here today to share your advice, your thoughts on looking ahead to Q4. As people are listening to this podcast and find value in it and want to share it with their team, please do so. Please share it with other brands, sellers. It helps us out a ton. And again, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any of these episodes in the future, wherever you are listening to podcasts. Also follow us on LinkedIn. There you will never miss content from our team. We're always posting, the latest in Amazon rollouts and betas and new things we're seeing on the platform from other competitors. So, be sure to tune into us there. And again, leave us a rating and review here on the podcast. It means a ton and helps us get found by other Amazon sellers as well. So thank you all for being here. And thank you again, Nick.
Thank you for having me, Justin. Always a great time.
Everyone, we'll talk to you all later, and cheers.